is used for all kinds of microchips and supercomputing and
Shalom, first and foremost, I want to give all praises, honors, and glories to Yahweh Ba'Hashem, Yahushua Ba'Hashem Rakakudash, and the honors to the apostles and others of great millstone. Salutations to the hopeful elect. This is your brother, I'm Noah Allah from GMS and GMS Chicago, and coming back with you with another lesson of what has happened recently, or in the news, and as far as this current monetary system that America is basically facing right now, which is crashing, right? It's crashing, and just recently, all right. Before I believe silver was $45 an ounce or so, and all of a sudden, it was just once $70 an ounce, but now it jumped straight up to $79 an ounce, and it's basically like damn near almost 80. But nonetheless, the way how this works, I'm not really good of knowing how economics work, how money works that much, in America, all right. But basically, when the price of gold and silver goes up, the value of the dollar decreases. All right, and we all know that the U.S. dollar is not backed by anything, and Esau can literally, what they always have been doing is just printing U.S. dollars out of thin air. All right, pumping money into the economy, just like so. Simple. They just keep printing money, and just by doing that, it just devalues the dollar, right? And what these people are experiencing is, the devaluation of the dollar, which means that they need more dollars to buy products, all right, to buy their goods. And not that there is a shortage of goods, all right, but the dollar bill is basically dying, right? Esau can print money just like that, simple, out of thin air. All right, he could put digits on the screen, but nonetheless, what he really wants to do is implement a new monetary system. All right, a digital monetary system where we're not going to be using cash anymore. We're not going to be using paper anymore. Coins, quarters, whatever. All right, and that's what ultimately what Esau wants to do. All right, he wants to implement the MOTB at the end of the day. But nonetheless, right now we're experiencing, all right, an economic collapse of America, all right, financial collapse. All right, and money is about to be real worthless, right? All right, a lot of people are suffering. We saw the effects of the government shutdown. People lost their jobs and shit. People couldn't afford groceries. People didn't have no SNAP benefits and shit. But now, all right, it's even getting even worse, to the point where, yeah, we're not in a government shutdown again just yet, but we're getting there, all right, by the end of January. But these people are going to feel more financial struggles as the U.S. dollar is starting to weaken even more, all right, and that will cause havoc. It will cause chaos, all right. It will lead to people, just stealing, all right, because, well, you got people that work 2 or 3 jobs, right, in order to get by, all right. They got to pay their bills, all right. They got to feed their families and shit, all right. A lot of people are desperate, all right. A lot of people are very desperate, and even right now. But here's Ezekiel 7 and 19. It says, "And they shall cast their silver in the streets, and their gold shall be removed. Their silver and their gold shall not be able to deliver them in the day of the wrath of the Lord. They shall not satisfy their souls, neither fill their bowls, because it is the stumbling block of their iniquity." But nonetheless, all right, money in general, all right, is about to become worthless. Because what, of course, gold and silver are good assets to have, all right. That's real money right there too. But in a time of an economic crisis, all right, a lot of these people are not going to just bust their ass off and spend their entire paycheck and not be able to save and pay for these expensive groceries and shit, right? All right, a lot of people are going to be resulting into stealing, right? And that's when you're going to see the storehouses become even empty, right? Because this economy is failing, right? Houston wants to do away with this current monetary system and implement a new one by the way of the RFID microchip. All right, but you see, money at the end of the day, all right, gold and silver, whatever, whatever you have, all right, Bitcoin, whatever, all that bull crap, all right, it's not going to sell you in the day of the Lord's, in the day of the wrath of the Lord, all right? All right, you can't buy your way into salvation, all right? Hey, check out this video, all right? It's very, has good information, right? Just things to look out for. But nonetheless, we're in a economic collapse, all right? We're in an economic depression, all right? And things are going to get bad. And hey, there's about to be a war that's about to start to, kick off because, well, in a wartime scenario or so, or in an economic collapse, or a nation who will have no choice but to go to war, all right? And that's what Esau's about to do as well, right? According to history, right? During an economic collapse or so, they go to war, right? Or even if a war begins, all right, a financial collapse occurs, right? Second Esdras 6 and 22. And suddenly shall the sown places appear unto, and the full storehouses shall suddenly be found empty. And that's right, these people, all right, they're not just going to sit there and just, grind a whole week just to spend $100 on one item at the grocery store because inflation is getting terrible for them, right? These people are going to end up stealing stuff, all right? They have no choice but to steal because what? Everybody has families. Everybody around you has families, basically. Everybody has children to feed. They got bills to pay. They need to eat, right? And in a financial collapse, right, you're going to see chaos in the streets of America, riots, food riots, right? People looting, people breaching into each other's homes because of the lack of bread, right? Crime going up. Right, money is about to become real useless in the times that we're coming into. Right, this is why we need Yahweh Bashem, Yahweh Shai, to be with us in these perilous times that we're coming into. Because hey, it's the Lord that decides your fate. Right, it's the Lord that like at the end of the day, the Lord, He chose His elect in the beginning. All right, He has already appointed everybody's lot since from the beginning. All right. Well, it says, and the trumpet shall give a sound, which when every man heareth, they shall suddenly be afraid. That's right, them alarms, all right? You're about to receive that emergency alert system alarm on your phones and shit when the next crisis hit. Could be anything, all right? False flag, terrorist attack, a new biological attack, could be a new disease or so. Whatever, it could be anything, right? This is why we stand upon our watch. But it says, and the trumpet shall give a sound which When every man heareth, they shall suddenly be afraid. At that time shall friends fight one against another like enemies, and the earth shall stand in fear with those that dwell therein. The springs of the fountains shall stand still, and in 3 hours they shall not run. And that's what we're about to see, right? People that are about to fight one against another. It says, whosoever remaineth from all these that I have told thee shall escape and see my salvation in the end of your world. Is it to that point? But yeah, things are changing real quick. Right, things are changing dramatically, and Esau is really about to implement the digital system, right? The new monetary system, the new way of buying and selling, by the way of the RFID microchip. All right, that's coming. Right, you're gonna see the implementation of a central bank digital currency, the UBI, Universal Basic Income, and the social credit score system, and next thing you know, all right, he's going to soon implement the RFID microchip, right? All these is prophecy, right? It's prophesied in the Bible. And hey, it's at the end of the day, it's the Lord that chooses your fate, all right? So yeah, the elect at the end of the day are going to be protected in the times that we're coming into, right? Jeremiah 15:2, it says, and it shall come to pass, if they say unto thee, whither shall we go forth? Then thou shalt tell them, thus saith the Lord, such as are for death to death, such as are for the sword to the sword, and such as are for the famine to the famine, and such as are for the captivity to the captivity. You see? A lot of people are going to be put to death, alright? Well, we understand through the scriptures, alright, that it is judgment from the Lord, alright? It says, verse 3, and I'll appoint over them 4 kinds said the Lord, the sword to slay, and the dogs to tear, and the fowls of heaven, and the beasts of the earth to devour and destroy. And yeah, the Lord, Lord will send animals, put the spirit on the animals to attack people or so, or the Lord has, death angels, alright, that literally jump upon these people to strike one another. Or in the scriptures it tells you that the Lord created spirits. I was bringing up spirits created for vengeance. Sirach 39:28. There be spirits that are created for vengeance, in which in their fury lay on sore strokes. In the time of destruction they pour out the force and appease the wrath of him that made them. You see, the Lord is the one that is doing the judging. All right, the Lord is the one that is controlling everything. All right. But nonetheless, I hope this lesson was edifying. I want to give all praises, honors, and glories to Yahweh Bashem, Yahweh Shalom.